Hello, welcome to the Media Club. I'm your host, Matt Deegan. In the club today, all three quiet on the M&A front. Why are Superindies reluctant to spend on new ideas at the moment? Stephen D Wright, journalist and TV producer, tells us what's going on. It's also about to get quieter in the audio sector, with the cull at Wondery sending shockwaves through the burgeoning podcast sector. Chloe Straw, chief exec of trade body Audio UK, gives us the mood music and which strategies that could help your business. All that plus has Destination X been mistreated? Apple TV starts selling its shows to terrestrial broadcasters, and in the media quiz we fix up some old media properties. That's all coming up in the Media Club. Come on in. Hello to both of you. Stephen, lovely to have you here in real life. TV producer on such glorious shows as The Word and X on the Beach. Reviewer for Times Radio, writer at Broadcast. Who would you like to see get their reward for their great work this week?
Well, I've been thinking about this. I've got a couple of names. First of all, Graham Linehan. He's had a good week. He's gone back onto the front pages again, but maybe not for TV purposes.
Yes.
Then you've got Steph McGovern, who's apparently got 3 new series, which is quite a lot of Steph McGovern.
A lot to have.
Plus, she's doing Smoggy Queens Series 2. And then there's the guy I had lunch with today, who told me that he's got 3 dramas that are being in production and another 3 in development. And I was a bit like, what? Who are you? Chris Lang, the writer of Unforgotten. Booming at the moment, that sort of drama world.
Did he put it down to anything? Just his amazing talent?
Well, it's amazing talent, obviously, but basically that's still the boom sector of TV, and they can't get enough of it. So he's getting busier and busier, and I think he's seeing somebody tomorrow at Sony, and I was just a bit like, what? It wasn't like the olden days, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, TV when it used to have money. But yeah, so Chris Lang should be your next guest in.
Oh, we should
talk about drama.
Yes, we should go and speak to him. There was a bit of chat at the TV festival about sort of like a golden circle of writers and
he's definitely in it.
Yeah, and it's something that we go and fish in that circle, mix my metaphors.
I think there's only about 6 or 7 people.
Yeah.
And it's nearly all dramas are one of those people. And Chris is definitely, scoring very big at the moment, particularly with ITV.
Yeah.
So,
well, he's very welcome to join the club, and we'd love to get him on the sofa too. He's put in a good word for us.
Absolutely.
Chloe, you represent members of the audio sector in trade body Audio UK. Who are you nominating this week?
So I'm going to go for Lizzie Pollot, who is the Chief Communications and Brand Officer at Acast.
Yes.
So you may recall that earlier this year at Audio UK, we did a Power of Podcasting event, which was all about advertisers investing more in podcasting, showing them why it's a good idea. And one of the major themes that came out of that is that there's still quite a lot of confusion about how you advertise on a podcast, which is understandable. We got some sort of questions before the event, and I was not amazed, but it was really eye-opening to be like, oh, these are quite basic questions. We assume a lot of knowledge. And so Acast have recently launched a kind of advertising and audio academy online. And if you're a marketer or an advertiser, you can go on and do these 2 modules, and it gives you a really good idea of how and why you'd advertise in podcasting. So great thing.
Back in the kind of mists of time, I did something similar in the radio world, and we had lots of new grads who would come in and find out how radio advertising worked. Yeah. And bear in mind, they were booking like £500 million of advertising. Yeah. You would assume that they knew more than they perhaps did.
Yeah.
Maybe we all should be better at just going back to basics sometimes.
People don't like asking, do they? They get worried it will make them look stupid. Yeah. But I'm a big fan of asking questions no matter what level you are, and anything that enables more advertising in podcasting, which as we know is a wonderful medium to advertise in, is a good thing.
Well, Lizzie's definitely welcome.
Good.
Okay, into the media news we go. Or rather the absence of news. Stephen, fascinating piece in Deadline about all 3 media who expected to buy up a number of studios or production companies this year, but haven't. Why?
I mean, I can't really believe you asked me why. The answer is fairly obvious. There's no work.
Okay.
And so if there's no work, why buy companies to try and find work? I think that's basically it in a nutshell. When, of course, that's the recipe for disaster. If you don't produce new ideas, produce new work, it will all die. But because of the slowdown, they're all sitting on their hands. They're not buying up companies. The odd one, there was one announced the other day, Mirella Brader is now running Sea Monsters with Sam Pollard, which is, I think, all 3 media. I think it's all 3 media. But which is a kind of a nice thing to see. But they used to happen all the time, and they're so rare now. But this is the problem, that, why pay money to bring in some high flying creatives without actually guaranteeing an income? And so to me that's the basic answer.
I mean, it's kind of the same as well, Banijay, Fremantle, like no one's particularly doing it. Is that the companies aren't getting new work, so there's no one that's the big new thing?
Ish.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes down to the fact that the commissioners aren't buying. If the commissioners aren't buying, why bother selling? If it's going to cost you, do you see what I mean? Why not just keep, waiting? I think they're all waiting. This is the thing. There's a lot of high-priced TV creatives out of work, sitting, waiting to start launching companies, but they need to be paid. And it's that thing. It's the money behind the wages, the infrastructure. That's what's stopping all this.
Also saw a mention of All3Media developing feeder labels. Did you see this?
No. What's a feeder label?
Basically, sort of internally developing ideas and then kind of pushing them out to other.
Well, I mean, they did that at the BBC. They called it Development Central. I worked for them for a moment, and it was basically bringing people in to punt out ideas, because we were good at ideas, and then they would give them to sort of unsuccessful departments to sell. You were just trying to get a sort of super development unit. So that's probably what they're talking about.
Is that more efficient? I mean, these companies are large companies. Does it sweat their assets better if they're doing that?
It's the thing about TV particularly is the ideas cost very little. The infrastructure costs a lot. So you can get an ideas person who can, who doesn't need a desk, for God's sake. A laptop and a mobile phone is all you need. So you can still create what would be a company in the old-fashioned way. Then when you get the commission, then you hire all the people that are sitting around, or the desk space, or whatever it is. It's always money at the end of all this. But ideas don't need a huge infrastructure to come up with. It's the program making part that needs that. So if you've not got enough stuff coming out, you need more people with ideas. That's all.
We're going to be talking about a new company that's appearing on the scene a little bit later on. Before we do that, though, I mean, Chloe, TV companies have been sort of getting to podcasts as well. I mean, are podcasts and kind of feeder labels, is it allowing people to play with new ideas? Are we seeing any TV companies becoming part of the podcast sector?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was going to joke that podcasts are a cheap way of developing ideas. I'd be really interested. I mean, we work with companies. Raw TV is the best example I can think of, who are obviously very successful in telly, as far as I know.
Very successful.
There you go. Good. Got that right. And they have a big podcast department as well, making, I think Wondery were a big client, but also a lot of other areas. And, podcasts are shown to be a really good way to cheaply develop IP. Ironically, it's narrative podcasts primarily that, if you are in the audio world, feel like they cost a lot of money. But I imagine if you're in telly, feel like they cost about 3p compared to developing something into a TV format. So the relationship, we at Audio UK earlier this year did a kind of networking event with Pact, which is the Audio UK equivalent for TV and film, which was very much about bringing podcast producers and TV and film producers together in terms of that kind of shared development of IP.
I mean, the problem with development ideas, or development producers, people that come up with ideas, is you over the last 10 years, it's gone from being paid a wage to being paid when you actually get a commission.
Right.
So it's a very, risky financially. And of course, that's the reason why these companies aren't necessarily going into buying up the talent, because most of the time they're sitting around talking and looking out the window, waiting for inspiration to hit. Now, if you can do that by freelancing somebody or whatever, or just buying it in from a feeder or something, that makes more economic sense. It's horrible for the industry because it destroys the creative people, but it's good for the companies.
Well, we talked a little bit earlier about Wondery. So in a few weeks, since Amazon announced layoffs at that podcast network, kind of moving a lot of the Wondery people into Audible, or a lot of the programs into Audible, maybe not the people, and moving some of the projects into a sort of central creators department. So for kind of people who are sort of high value talents. Chloe, I mean, Wondery, a huge commissioner of content from producers in the US and in the UK. So I was reading some reports that Wondery may be the second largest commissioner after the BBC. So what's the mood like amongst your members?
So I've thought about this a lot, because there's obviously been, it broke mid-August, I think. I was on holiday. I have really good relationships with a lot of people at Wondery. So from their personal jobs point of view and the team's point of view, I think it's really sad. And, you know, there's particular people that we worked with. We'd always worked with Barney Lee, who was in charge of marketing there on the Audio Production Awards. And so, you know, there's an enormous amount of talent out there. So I guess the first point is, if anyone is looking to recruit, like, you're spoiled at the moment, and a lot of people are looking to recruit. I
know a lot of the Wondery team have sort of created a shared spreadsheet of people who want to be listed, who've lost their jobs. So it's a really interesting resource to see. Yeah,
it's really good. I mean, I have so many thoughts on this, and I tried to break it down. And whilst I was doing it, I thought maybe I need to write an essay on it. I think there's two different elements to it. So there's the video side of it, and kind of video podcasting, and then there's kind of the death of narrative podcasting, what's going to happen. And I think a lot of people have sort of said, oh, this is the death of narrative podcasting, what are we going to do? And without sounding like a sort of old fogey, I entered this industry about 20 years ago. There were very few indies. I worked for something else, which is now Sony. The only way you could get commissioned was by the BBC. And you'd be lucky if you got a 30-minute documentary on Radio 4 once a year. I'm not saying we should go back to that, but I think often, because this is a relatively new industry, people think that when sort of something happens or something goes wrong, it's the end of everything. And it's not. Like, industries are living, breathing beasts, and, you know, they expand and contract, and you'll find that there's more jobs over there in video and there's less jobs in narrative. And I think it's really important as a creative in this industry to make sure that you are you have your fingers in a lot of pies. So it's very rare for any of our members to rely on one commissioner. And in fact, it's increasingly rare for any of our members only to make commissioned content. So they will make commissioned content, they will do branded partnerships, they will do partnerships with other, with places like iHeart, and increasingly they self-publish and are ad-funded. And I think, you know, if you're looking at the biggest growth area, it's subscription revenue. Companies like Noiser do really good narrative podcasting, a really sort of inspirational company, and are very much looking at subscription models, subscription funding. So I think I feel for the people. I think as an industry, we are still absolutely on the up. And I think it's important to sort of pause and have a moment for Wondery, because it was a wonderful thing, but also to, you know, expect a big tech platform not to be, I don't know the financials, but I presume looking at the bottom line. And it's tricky having an Audible and a Wondery and an Amazon Music. And I know Amazon like to have their own individual labels, but that's really hard. And actually, as you say, you know, the narrative can go to Audible, and the more kind of celebrity focused video podcasts, can go to Amazon Music. And so, you know, it makes sense if you're looking at it from a business perspective.
I mean, some people have talked about it being kind of death of narrative, which I think is slightly overawed. But I think there is a thing that chat shows are now video and audio. Is it an acknowledgement that you need to sort of deal with them in a different way? I
actually find this whole debate really frustrating. So that's not on you. That's like, to break our industry down to something as simplistic as audio and video makes me want to scream, and doesn't think about the innovation of our industry, the brilliance. Like, if there's anything about this industry, it's hugely innovative. You know, if you look at, obviously Goalhanger lead the way in video podcasting. You look at Goalhanger, and Tony and Jack are very clear about saying that their video is additive, so additional audience on top of their audio. So there's still a huge audience who consume audio. The video is building as well, and it's not necessarily it's not taking away from the audio. And I think that's really important. And then you have Rusty Quill, who managed to be hugely successful in monetizing audio-only horror drama, like incredibly niche. They don't do videos at all, but they make millions of pounds on merchandising and board games. There's so many opportunities, I think, to break the industry down to kind of death of audio, hurrah for video. Video is important. It helps with discoverability, but there are also so many other ways. You know, I was looking back to, again, very old, I've been in the industry for a long time, I feel very old. I come from production, so my first kind of job at something else was producing shows for the BBC Music. And I was thinking, when I was about, 25, we all, the producers, taught ourselves how to use Final Cut, how to do lighting in the studios at something else, and how to use cameras. And I was looking back, and the very first video I did for YouTube was in 2008 for a section called Hype on the Mic for an Asian network show with Limelight and Candyman. And I watched it today because I was thinking about this, and I thought, it's appalling. The MCs are amazing. My lighting, I'm like, can't actually see their faces. But we were like, we'll just have a go.
Yeah.
Like, we're radio producers, we don't know what we're doing. But we had a go. And that was 2008. And I looked, and YouTube only started in 2005. Instagram didn't start till 2010. The fact that video is a new thing to the audio industry is absurd.
Yeah.
We've been, having to do it forever. Again, it's just a change. It's just a move of all these different parts, and we need to innovate. So
when I was looking at some of this sort of audio video split for Amazon and them kind of doubling down on talk shows being basically cross-platform, I did think for talent, talent's in a great place with the digital future. Like, we talk about the woes of production companies, woes of broadcasters quite a bit. Previously, talent was subservient to their broadcast masters. They are not anymore, are they?
Definitely not. They're like the parasite that's going to grow out. But it come out my eyeball, and it's feast on my dead body. Yeah, no, that's the problem. Celebrity is everything. I hate using the word talent because that implies they're clever and good and talented.
But aren't they?
No,
they're the ones making all the money now.
They are. They're the servants. They should stay down below stairs. No, that's the thing. It's changed. The celebrity world has become more important than anything else. And one of the worst things, of course, is that celebrities now think they're journalists or documentary makers or whatever. And that's a bit annoying. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how much income do you need? Because, they're starving the rest of us.
But if the audience thinks they're journalists or documentary filmmakers,
it's not really the talent's fault. It's the commissioners. The commissioners went insane for celebrity-fronted programs, celebrity-fronted formats, celebrity. It's like, that's not. They used to. Journalists used to present things. Talented filmmakers used to present things and become famous. Now you have to be, I don't know, an ex-reality star with a kind of an itch to scratch in, why are so-and-so happening? Or I've discovered, women are treated badly by, for fuck's sake, it's sort of, there's a lot stating the obvious, but it's done with, somebody famous. And they're famous from being on Love Island. It's like, they're not even real fucking talent. Sorry, a lot of swearing going on.
But
there.
if those people find that audience and those audience like them and discover them on those platforms, isn't that the more honest way of doing media rather than having a commissioner at the top of the chain? Should we follow the public?
Yes.
Begrudgingly.
You can see how I'm willing to embrace this new world. It's difficult because it's one of these worst. It's one of the terrible things about the celebrity obsession. It gets worse and it gets more. It used to be, say, I don't know, 50% celebrity. Now it's 150% celebrity. It's so much, and of course people now forget that it's spiraling and spiraling, and there's no obvious stop. It's. You just have to get in bed with these celebrities.
Chloe, do you agree? Do you think the talent are in control? They shouldn't be, or is it good that they've released their chains?
Released the beast. Podcasting is a bit different. Of course, there's talent-led formats. I guess Jamie Lang, is a huge example, got his own production company, seems to actually be very good at what he does, which is good. But then, I think with podcasting, you still get a lot of people who aren't celebrities. Could you say that Dominic Sandbrook and Tom Holland were really well-known celebrities before they started The Rest is History? They were, well-known in their fields, but not really. Yeah. And so I think that's, again, what's nice about podcasting. It can, it's not an even playing field, but it can be more of an even playing field. And I think that still exists. I think talent has also opened up a lot for the independent sector. I think it's actually driven a lot of moves away from everything being with the BBC, which I'm sure if you're the BBC is really annoying, and there's certain things that they're doing around that. But
so kind of indies working with talent to create shows and co-own them or work together on them.
And I think I think in the podcast and audio world, people were shackled by commissioners. The budgets are crap, like they're nothing to do with nothing like TV. They were shackled by it. They were shackled by talent being in these, not being able to come out of the broadcasters that they're with. And actually, it has democratised quite a lot. But it's a different industry. So
well, finally, just before the break, let's get back to those broadcasters. ITV Studios have announced a new entertainment label headed by Lily Wilson and Tom Williams. Stephen, no name yet, but what's the aim? And there's something kind of slightly odd about this announcement. Think about it.
It feels a bit odd because it feels like it's going to be a new company, but actually it sounds like they're rebranding Potato and 12 Yards IP. I love the way they keep saying 12 Yards IP, like they're just a drawer in an office. Yeah,
so Potato and 12 Yards were ITV labels.
Well, ITV labels. 12 Yards was shuttered a few years ago.
They're sort of formats, so things like The Weakest Link sort of in the cupboard.
Yeah,
being
they were the
deployed.
game show kings for years, and then somehow it sort of just all dried up. But this looks like, to me, it looks, from a cynical perspective, it looks like ITV is sort of putting one of their own, the commissioner, into an ITV company in order to commission more work from them to ITV. So thus keeping the money in-house. That's how I look at it.
And do all the people remain? Do all the Potato lot stick around?
It seems to be they are keeping the talent, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure at this stage. I mean, the press release is pushing the new big names coming off from ITV. But whether or not this is a good thing, I don't know. Because it doesn't feel like they're going to be pitching to the BBC. It feels like they're pitching straight back to ITV. Yeah, I mean, everyone sort of at the TV festival was talking about the big formats. Everyone sort of abandoned the middle. They're not coming back. We need big international shows that we can ship around the world, a la The Traitors and all of that stuff. Is it their go at going, right, let's just try and do big formats? Yes, absolutely. It's nobody wants anything that's not a major, global franchise type thing. Whether these two can do it, who knows? But it's also a way of ITV not necessarily spending money unnecessarily on other independents, but perhaps keeping it in-house. All the channels seem to be doing it now. They seem to be all, Channel 5, Channel 4. They're all starting to feel like we'll just commission in-house, like BBC Studios, that sort of thing, which is all great if you're running those networks, but it's terrible if you're an indie. That's the problem. Indies are out there trying to, get anything. This sort of slightly cozy backdoor relationship seems a bit off to me. It might not be. I might be being horribly prejudiced here, but I don't think I am.
And still no one to buy up you as a small indie either.
Well, nobody's bothering. I mean, that's the thing. Is nobody will take a risk anymore. I mean, 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, maybe they were still buying individual producers, but that seems to have gone forever.
Okay, when we return, our guests perform a little health check on the TV and audio sectors, and we look at some media brands that need fixing up. We'll see you in a sec.
Hello Media Club listeners, Patrick here from Podcast Discovery, the podcast marketing company, where this week we've been thinking about September. September is a bit of a holy grail in podcasting. Everyone's getting back into a new routine after dropping everything over the summer, and there's a good long run before Christmas to turn them into regulars. So, how do you stand out from everyone else trying to take advantage? To speak to us about that or anything else to do with podcast marketing, head to podcastdiscovery.com. That's podcastdiscovery.com.
So it's not the death of narrative podcasting, nor is it the death of linear television. But if you're looking to change up what you do and dip into podcasting, Podshop is your ideal space for recording content that stands out from the crowd. So you can focus on the talking and leave the rest to the experts. And for a limited time, you can get 25% off your first booking at Podshop Studios, where we record our show every week. Just use the code MEDIACLUB when booking online at podshoponline.co.uk. That's the code Media Club. Don't miss out. Head to their studio page now and take your podcast to the next level. Welcome back. Here's a few stories we've been talking about in the club this week. Apple TV Plus has finally sold a show. The streamer has always held its own properties tightly, but has signed a deal with the BBC for the sitcom Trying. Will this open the door for Slow Horses and Ted Lasso to head to broadcasters? I guess we'll see. The TV platform Roku is getting into the world of fast channels, launching over 40 ad-supported channels in October. These are linear channels focusing on a single show or genre and target those not able to pay for subscription services. Channels announced include PGA Tour, Unsolved Mysteries, Nature Time, and simply Old House. Look forward to watching that. And 2/4's Destination X has been given a rough ride by critics, but ended its run with its second highest audience, a feat broadcast noted that put it on par with the first season of The Traitors. Links to all those stories and all the things we talk about are available on our free Substack. Go sign up now at themediaclub.com. That's themediaclub.com. Get a lovely email from us every week and maybe something special coming soon. So sign up at themediaclub.com. Chloe and Stephen are still with me. Just thinking about that, Destination X has had a bit of a hard time. Numbers, though, not actually dreadful.
Well, are numbers important?
Well,
this is where I go all philosophical and Buddhist. Do you know what I mean? Numbers aren't important anymore, apparently. It's all about
overnights and
it's all
linear?
about noise, it's all about reach, it's all about whatever. Are people talking about it? Destination X, they are not talking about it. And that's the problem. It's overhyped. It's very expensive. You know, how many producers could they employ on this show? Thousands, it seems like. But the format, a mishmash of awfulness.
But last year, everyone was talking about Destination X being the thing that was going to be great.
It's like, you know, previews are always kind of positive.
But international versions and things like that.
What's that?
International versions and
who cares? I mean, from a business perspective, fair enough. But from a viewer's perspective, it's a load of rubbish. It's, you know, it's, what do you call it? Race Around the World, plus a bit of that one on the coach trip, plus a bit of so-and-so. And then you're like, ugh. And I'm very jaundiced about these shows because, you know, you think you've been in the bed game a long time. Christ, I'm about 100 years old. I've seen all these things before and I can still remember the other formats. I mean, this is, you know, it's as if you're making them for babies. You know, somebody who's never seen Traitors is going to go, oh, isn't The Inheritance great? No, it's a rip-off. It's a rehash. You know, Stranded on Honeymoon Island. It's a bit like Shipwrecked. It's a bit like so-and-so. It's a bit like. That's how commissioners do it now. They patch together a little patchwork quilt of bits of formats. And the viewers, I think, are getting a bit bored with it. So Destination X is quite a sort of salutary lesson in that respect. It hasn't done that well.
Well, so linear figures were only about 20% adrift from The Traitors. So it's sort of within the same
talk
place.
About The Traitors.
Of course they do. But does that matter if the numbers are there?
I mean, you know, for the BBC, numbers don't really matter at all. You know, they're not selling ads. In that classic way.
Shouldn't do.
Well, do you know what I mean? But this is the thing. You know, the old-fashioned thing about ratings overnight, etc. Because people don't watch linear TV in the same way. I'm one of the few people that still does. You know, and people are shocked when you go, "Oh, I'm going home to watch so-and-so." What? You know, because you can watch it on your phone whenever. But that thing of it does feel like it's been a bit overhyped. It's been extremely expensive. I don't think it's as expensive as Stranded on Honeymoon Island, but they're super expensive. So they suck up, 70% of the year's budget for other shows. And if they don't hit immediately, they feel like flops. Whether this is going to be a flop, I don't know. It could grow, it could grow, it could grow.
Do you think it's going to come back? I think it's got to come back.
It's got to come back. You know, it's like one of those old things when you're in commissioning that really big flops always get recommissioned because you have to kind of cover the tracks. But at the same time, that's always
And there's a lot of tracks for all those big buses.
Well, exactly. But, I mean, you know, the other thing is the more you show something, the more people watch it. Yeah. And so, you know, people always forget this. It's a great fact that Friends was a flop the first time it came out. It only rated when they repeated it in the summer and students started watching it. And a lot of shows have not been, you know, huge hits, but have grown into it. So Destination X could still be the next big show.
Chloe, did you do Destination X for your Destination X household?
Yeah, so it's interesting you say it's for babies, and I hate it when people reference their children as if they represent the whole world, but I'm going to do that. So my kids love it. So we struggle as a family to find stuff because I have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. Who knows how old they are. We always forget the third one. And so they don't want to watch the same thing. So the only things that we can watch, which are, you know, Traitors, Gladiators, Destination X. I'm not that into it. If I get an hour of peace, that's great. I don't care what I'm watching, frankly. So
you should be the next commissioner of BBC.
Honestly, I'd be so good at it. So I can't, I can't really speak to the quality of it.
Thank you, Rob Brydon, for giving you an hour.
Happy. And then they've obviously got the funny online thing where you put the X. But I mean, half the time we're like, what is going on? Like, it's an absurd programme, isn't it? With these clues, they could be the right clues, they could be the wrong clues. We've just
we checked out after episode 1.
I
was like, what? I don't. They're looking from left to right. I'm not really sure what this is. Before I just want to pick up on some other telly stuff for you, Stephen. Format reboots non-stop, educating Yorkshire back on C4. Loads of publicity for a big radio campaign running at the moment.
I immediately taped that to see how old analog I am. I Sky Plused it, so I haven't watched it yet. But that has a sort of validity because education has gone through a massive change. I mean, people now talk about their children being from a sort of alien generation because they've had to grow up through COVID or not go to school or everyone's got ADHD or whatever. And so the idea that a school's the same now as it was 12 years ago, there's a rationale for repeating. So to me, doesn't feel like as cynical as reboot as most of these other ones. Cynical is always a good word. It always means that the commissioners don't care. They just want an easy hit, whatever. These are not passion projects. But Education Yorkshire, I think, is slightly different. I think that has a bit of its own niche, and therefore. Did you watch it?
I will do though.
Yeah, but it's one of those ones where you think, oh, hang on, and it had a lot more heart. When it went out. I mean, this is the thing. These kind of shows aren't what's the word? They're not reinventing the wheel, but they show you real life. They show you real honesty, emotion, etc. Great people. Those things are timeless. Yeah. So shows like that work. That's why Destination X and all these other shitty fucking super formats or whatever we call them. They're all full of reality show wannabes. They're all doing the reality show, I don't like her. And then there's always a girl who's got lips puffed up like this. The fuck are these people? They only exist to go on reality shows. They don't feel real. Whereas... Do you think some of the reason that Educating Yorkshire's come back is because of adolescence? Yes.
So people have re-engaged.
I think people have suddenly realised that kids and adolescents are a different breed. There is a generational divide, whether it's generation digital or COVID, just that thing, but also the mental health thing. People don't know now what their kids are doing. The kids are upstairs potentially, communing with sex pests and paedophiles, rather than going out and playing with their friends in the street. You know what I mean? So there's a kind of massive anxiety amongst parenting. What are my kids doing? People are still panicking about them going off to university. It's like, no, they're adults now. But there's this sort of modern, madness of parenting. So there's definitely a kind of, it services a need to show what kids are still like. Are kids still the same? Yes. Comparatively, but have they gone through a different? Therefore, get a TV show and stick the cameras on.
Well, back in the day job, taking your mind off that as well. We've talked a bit on the show about the Creative Industries campaign. If someone's a new listener, do you want to give them the quick 1-minute version of that?
Yeah, I'll try to go for 1 minute. So we work closely with DCMS and government. At government level, you have defined creative industries. So film, TV, advertising, fashion, publishing, anything you could ever think of, except for podcasting and audio.
And
so what else is missing?
Influencers and
creators. Yes. We do work with YouTube, actually. I'm going to see the head of policy next week. So, but really missing. And I think that, those categories are defined pretty much on how much money those industries make. You could look back X amount of years and go, okay, maybe radio was niche. You come to now and you go, it's a bit more difficult to argue.
It's niche. I mean, there's £1 billion spent on it, both BBC and advertising on the radio end before we even get to podcasts.
Yeah, but then if you think of, audiobooks worth £1 billion, podcasting worth who knows how much, but a lot of money. And if you add them all up together, you're approaching a lot more that really sits alongside those other industries in terms of what they do. Also a lot of global creative cultural influence, soft power we always talk about.
Why is it important to be recognised as being a creative industry?
Right. So most of it is government support and money. So we launched a campaign at the start of the summer. Open letter to your MP, did a lot of adverts on podcasts, so please go to our website and sign those things. They're still going. It's important. So audio podcasting doesn't have a seat on the Creative Industries Council, makes a lot of influential decisions at such as the Creative Industries Sector Plan, which came out earlier this year, and that's where the funding and the money goes. So you look at the Creative Industries Sector Plan, there's a mention in the executive summary of podcasting, but then nowhere else in the entire however many 80-page document. There's no targeted support. There's nothing. So seat on the Creative Industries Council to have that influence. Audio, book and podcast production tax relief, similar reason. There's a lot of reason for us to do it. DCMS have had our plans, blah, blah, blah. And just overall support in terms of having that influence at government level.
Has government just not realised, oh, I'm sorry, we forgot to put you on the thing?
No.
Is it the existing ones going, we don't want anybody else in our gang, we quite like everything and the cash coming our way, or bit of all of that?
Yeah, I mean, they have noticed because we've been going on about it for quite some time. So certainly since I started Audio UK, which was 4 years ago, and I know my predecessor did work around it as well. There's always a kind of size of the pie. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we have a joke where we're like, every MP has a podcast, will have a podcast, has been on a podcast. Lisa Nandy, day after she's elected, day after Labour get in, where is she? She's on The Rest is Politics, but I'm sorry, we can't support you. So DCMS have a podcast, I'm sort of at the rage stage, which doesn't take long for me to get to, if I'm honest. I become a bit everything's absurd. But my hope is that they've just not realised yet, and now they will.
And how can people support the campaign?
So I must just shout out Hannah Brankin, who's our policy and regulation lead, who's done a lot of work on it, and Katie Banham, who does marketing for us, because they've pushed the campaign forward really hard. Just go to the website, audiouk.org.uk, in the policy section, or just Google our open letter, have a look at our LinkedIn. It's all there. And we're sort of coming to the end of the first push on it, and we'll be packaging it all up and taking it to various departments.
Great. There's just enough time for the Audio Network Media Quiz. Let's see how much attention you've been paying to the media news this week. Okay. This week's quiz is called Media SOS. This is our take on DIY/garden SOS, where we're going to supply some old formats and brands, and you can guess how they've been given a glow up. And incredibly, Alex Audio Network has taken that minuscule brief from producer Matt, and she's come up with an entire suite of music to score today's game. Okay, best of three. Buzz in with your name if you know the answer. Okay. So Chloe, you will say...
Chloe.
And Stephen, you will say...
Stephen.
Let's play Media SOS. This media mogul was in desperate need of renovation. Thankfully, Charlie Dimmock has a neat hack thanks to a ton of Pembers.
A ton of what? Pembers?
I'm not very good at quizzes. I'm never on anyone's team.
So the keywords there, a neat hack.
This is like being on Destination X, to be honest, Matt. Yeah. So
a neat hack thanks to a ton of Pembers.
My
short
question again.
Version for Pemberton.
Pemberton.
Stephen Pemberton. Has been
right,
yes,
okay. Oh, I know
buzz
this one.
in.
Stephen.
Yes.
Stephen got your name on it.
Jeez, like pulling teeth.
Christ, that was hard. So this is Steve Pemberton, from formerly League of Gentlemen, brilliant actor who is now appearing in The Hack, which is a new drama all based on the hacking scandal at the News of the World. And so that's starring David Tennant, but it's also starring Steve Pemberton as Rupert Murdoch.
So he's a good pick to be Rupert Murdoch?
I think he'll be brilliant because he is a brilliant actor. And I think the thing about Rupert Murdoch that people don't seem to realise, because he's demonised so much that we don't know what he's like as a person. And I used to work for his daughter, and it was always that thing of, well, what is he like? Because he's just a man. He's not. He doesn't have horns growing out of his head.
Apparently.
Well, I mean, I only met him once, and he fell asleep in a screening. That was it.
Of course.
No wonder he'd just flown in. I was like, Christ, he was so jet lagged. But Yeah, no, I saw the picture of the recreation of the government. What do you call it when they sit around?
It's like the select committee.
The select committee, exactly. Yeah. And that was the one where his then wife, Wendy Deng, punched somebody. So, do you remember that?
No,
it was fantastic.
That sounds amazing.
It was
someone threw a pie at him, didn't they?
And then she got up, she literally jumped up and punched the hell out of somebody, and it was like, wow.
Gosh.
So but I remember that watching the actual select committee. Murdoch appeared to be sort of a little bit sleepy, a little bit old, and then started talking, and you went, he knows what he's doing. Right. It's like, you realise this guy's, he's not where he is out of sort of, just nothing. He's a smart cookie. But Pemberton, I think, is going to have a fantastic chance to, humanise him, but also give us, we've got an unknown character. So really interesting. I'm looking forward to this.
And Chloe, you going to watch The Hack?
Sure.
Good. We'll leave it at that. Right.
Your kids will love it.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Okay.
Better than Destination X.
Here's renovation number 2.
Right.
Poor Handy Andy can't believe this shoddy workmanship. Everything has been wired up badly, and the contractor seems to think it's one big joke.
Again, these are too hard for people like us.
Should I take a guess,
Go
Chloe?
on. Yep.
I mean, it could be, is this the AI journalist?
Yes.
Okay, so as I understand it, and please do correct me, there was someone who'd been submitting stories that they'd been written by AI, effectively a fake journalist, who had been published, so no sort of fact-checking, didn't pop it into the has this been written by AI generator or whatever, across a couple of different publications. Then I start to lose the thread a little bit. There was something to do with an X account, and then someone came forward and said it was them, and I was lost.
So made up seemingly journalist Margot Blanchard sent in a load of stories.
Yeah.
It does sound like that. Her, Margot, yeah.
Published by Wired. No, they're still like decent publications. Real as AI, they kind of all pulled it. Then someone called Andrew Frelon has popped up. Great name.
Yeah. Now, is he the fake guy from Nigeria?
He's the one who does fake things. Oh. So it's like, is he co-opting someone else's fakery, or is it his own fakery? Christ. Press Gazette, who've been investigating Blanchard, believe that this still might be a hoax.
Great.
It's hard enough writing an article. I mean, I think bring on the fake journalists. You know what I mean? They'll be better than the real ones.
Okay, our final big renovation. Imagine this is from the start of an episode. There's lots of wear and tear on this property from the 1990s. Its one careful owner is leaving.
Oh, Stephen. Yes. I know this one. This is, what's his face, isn't it? Melvin Bragg.
Melvin Bragg,
who's 500 years old, and he's about to be cryogenically frozen. I think his head's going to get stored in a tin somewhere. And his very long-running BBC radio thing is about to finish.
Yes, you only get the point if you can name the long-running radio thing.
In our time.
Yes,
there you go.
So
I do split you half each, because you got his name, which I'd forgotten.
So he's leaving the show after 27 years.
Fascinating though. So first of all, your brain goes, why is he leaving? Like, no one leaves anymore because people do. I don't want to. But so my first thing when I read it was like, why is he leaving? He just seems to have decided to leave because
I think he's just too old.
Just really tired.
I think he's just retiring. I think that thing of people don't go on forever.
No, well,
he's done over 1,000 episodes,
which is incredible. And the article said it was the first ever BBC podcast in 2004, which I thought was a great thing and very popular in under 35s. Anyway, I love a stat. I thought they were interesting stats.
Obviously, it's a prime show. Does really well, as you said there. Who are they going to find to do this?
Somebody who was on Love Island 2 seasons ago.
Jamie Lang's production company can take it on. Perfect.
Excellent. And that makes the winner, I'm not sure, probably you, Stephen Just.
Yeah, I'll hand it over. I think that's fair.
You can go and find a great influencer to present in our time. That can be your prize.
Yeah.
Thank you both for joining us. Also, thank you to Audio Network that support the quiz. And remember, if you need audio or music for your production, get in touch with Alex at audionetwork.com. That's audionetwork.com. We'll put a link in the show notes as well. So, Stephen and Chloe, where can people find you when they're not listening to you on the podcast, Stephen?
Well, I'm normally sat outside railway stations selling big issues. You may have seen me there before. No, I'm basically in the ether. You know, I'm attached to small startups that don't seem to be doing anything. I'm pitching ideas that don't seem to be working. So I'm around.
And also, I hear you popping up on Times Radio a bit as well.
I do. I do the Times Radio quite regularly. I'm reviewing the TV, and I'm trying not to be too cynical and foul-mouthed. Honest, yes, exactly. No, I'm floating about. I'm available. Let's put it that way. I'm available for work.
Excellent. Chloe?
You can find me on LinkedIn. It's probably the best place. I quite enjoy LinkedIn. I don't think I play by the right rules. I'm not very serious on there. I think I probably should be. It's probably not doing my career any good. But my most recent post was a comparison of podcasting and Labubu.
Well, go and find that at Chloe Straw's LinkedIn. Thank you both. And thank you for listening and watching the podcast today. My name's Matt Deegan. The producer was Matt Hill. It was a Rethink audio production with video support from Podcast Discovery. And we'll see you next week.